What is up, everybody? Skratch coming up with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're gonna talk about rare champions, the only rare champions I would recommend you to build in 2022. And when we're talking about that, guys, I'm not including every single champion that you could use to do one thing in the game. I'm talking about champions that have some sort of utility, are really benefiting your team. Some strong rare champions. If we're gonna talk about secret rooms and champions that I had fun with in 2020, I'm gonna talk about every single rare champion in the game, you know. For the secret rooms, you can literally bring in most of the rare champions and they can fulfill their role, basically. Of course, there are better ones, there are worse ones, but I really want to focus on those strong rare champions that can benefit your team, and you can still use them in the end game, and you're not gonna regret it that you 6-star that champion and threw in all your resources. Before we move over to talk about all that, if you enjoyed the music you hear in the video, I partner up with Soundstripe. They have an amazing music library. Feel free to check them out. The link will be in the description down below and in the pinned comments. Plus, I can save you 15% on checkout by using code Skratch. Now, recently we haven't got any new rare champions that are wow. Nothing of good quality, and maybe it's not necessarily a problem of we haven't got rare champions. Maybe we got tons of epic champions, tons of legendaries in the last couple of years, and that kind of like made the rare champions feel less powerful, less special, you know? I feel like that might be the right point of view on it, you know, because we're still getting tons of rare champions. Of course, they're not as special, not as amazing as some of the OG ones. But when we're talking about epic champions, legendaries, we never had as many back in the day, and we didn't had all these crazy kits on them. And now it definitely feels like most of the rare champions got power creeped, and not many of them really have utility. If we're gonna talk about the starter champions, yes, I'm still suggesting you can go with confidence and 6-star each one of the starter champions, and you're gonna use them in the end game without a problem. Like, I'm using every single one of the starter champions for secret rooms and actually for multiple secret rooms. So trust me when I'm telling you that with confidence you can 6-star any of the rare starting champions. But let's jump in and have a quick look at factions. So if we go at the dwarves, guys, I'm gonna show you some of the champions from the index, some from my champion collections where I have them built. I'm not using this champion, but 100% is a very, very powerful one, and I'm definitely looking to 6-star one because I want to try some crazy things with him. Master Butcher, right? He's such an amazing champion, great for the Dreadhorn boss. I think like Cold Brew made some different strategies with him, and just overall he's a pretty unique champion because of his passives, you know, decent base stats. Now, most of the rare champions, they don't have amazing base stats. That's another thing that kind of like, well, I'm not gonna use the rare champions, I'm gonna focus on building my epics instead. It's easier to book them. And of course, faction wars, some of the dungeons, but I feel like from dungeons they're dropping out pretty quick. Some of them are very solid for clan boss, and they're kind of like a requirement for specific teams, you know. So talking about Master Butcher, the A1 just a provoke, the A2 again provoke, increase crit rate, increase attack on all allies. When attacked, heals all allies equal to the amount of damage taken. Does not work against bosses. And revives a random ally with full HP when this champion is killed. Now, this is kind of like what makes him special. The passives, you can have tons of fun with the champion, and honestly, you can use this champion in endgame because he's a pretty powerful champion and he's tons of fun at the same time. Now, from this faction, we have Avir, who can be decent, but again, you might want to use him in faction wars or no, depending on what other champions you have available. I feel like they can be replaced very, very quick, you know. Same with Bulwark, like, he used to be pretty special ages ago, but honestly, I don't think I would recommend to anyone to build a Bulwark in 2022. We have so many different champions available for clan boss now. I feel like will just be a waste of resources. Moving over to the next champion, and a lot of you guys love this champion, Paragon. I don't have one at 60 on this account, actually. I used to have one on the very old account. He's actually pretty interesting. He can allow you to cheese the Nightmare campaign because of the unkillable. He can allow you to beat some of the spider dungeon stages if you're struggling there by protecting a specific champion with Unkillable. He can be pretty annoying in arena defense just to troll people, and you can definitely find some uses for him as a champion, you know. He's more of a fun champion, I gotta admit it. It's not a champion that's gonna carry you through the game. It's not a champion that's gonna skyrocket your progression, even though he's gonna help you on some stages in the Spider if you have the right team with him. But honestly, I feel like this is a champion that, yeah, you won't regret it if you 6-star one of them, you know. And it's mainly because he has this Unkillable for 2 turns on a 2-turn cooldown. That's kind of like what makes him so different. If we're gonna move over to a different faction, guys, we're gonna go straight to the demon spawns. Now, right here, I actually have 2 rare champions that are pretty solid. I don't have any of them at level 60 because I don't need them at the moment, you know. Felhound is honestly the best brutal campaign farmer in the entire game. He doesn't need crazy gear, okay? And he farms it in like 6 seconds, 5-6 seconds. That's how fast he can farm brutal campaign, and mainly because of the A1. AoE decreases speed. This skill right here, continuous heal, reflect damage, is great for the Fire Knight dungeon, so you cannot so you can use him in the Fire Knight if you need him as well, not only in campaign as a farmer. And this one places a block damage buff on an ally for 1 turn. Nothing too crazy there. Mainly as a campaign farmer, the A1, a stun set if you need him for something else, faction wars or whatever, dungeon waves. And the A2 is the reflect damage on the Fire Knight, on the boss. You know, it counts as a hit when the boss actually slams the shield on you. We have Marquez. She hits extremely hard. Now, probably you would want to use this champion as a defense-based nuker. You want to use this champion in faction wars, and maybe even on secret rooms. Now, honestly, it really depends what nukers you have on your account, and can you actually find a use for this nuker or no? That's pretty much the whole thing. If you don't need it, it's fine. You don't need to 6-star the champion, of course. But this skill right here attacks all enemies, 35% chance to place weaken, and deals extra damage to enemies with the weaken debuff. So basically, another hit. This is almost like the Tranda level. That's how hard she hits. Of course, her base defense is not that great, you know, so don't expect anything too crazy out of the champion. Moving at some different rare champions that I have built and I'm using in a different content, guys. We're gonna start with no one else but Renegade. So you can use her for clan boss. You've seen I made a crazy clan boss team ages ago with Renegade. I'm using her with the current build on stage 25 on the Fire Knight dungeon, guys. She is part of that team and she's very important there, okay? So I have the blood shield accessory, I have a shield set on her. She is built for damage. But basically, when we're talking about skills, we have this skill, like kind of like a budget mini Chimera. This is a champion that, depending of your needs, okay, you don't need to 6-star her. I'm having her at 6-star because of the masteries. I want to farm that dungeon as fast as possible, so I don't care if I'm using 5 chickens on her. But a lot of you guys out there don't need to 6-star this champion. Even if she's at level 50, she's gonna do the job just fine, you know? We have the decreased cooldown of all ally skills by 2 turns, and this is on a 5-turn cooldown. And when we're talking about the Fire Knight, I have this a triple hitter with decreased speed, which is very important on the Fire Knight, you know? The A1 has a heal reduction. I don't want the Fire Knight to get a turn, so I don't really care that much about the A1. But mainly I gave her a damage build just to help me out a bit with the damage. War Master as a tier 6. Probably everyone's favorite rare champion, guys, Gelhert, okay? I feel like, my opinion, she is the best endgame rare champion in the entire game. Just generally the best rare champion in the entire game, because I won't have a day when I'm not gonna use Gelhert. I'm running her in the Spider, I'm running her in Doom Tower, I'm running her in Faction Wars if needed. You can run her in so many places, okay? I have 3 different builds. I have one on Savage, I have one on Reflex. This is more of an endgame build, tons of accuracy. And I have one on accuracy sets, crit damage sets. The good part about her is that you don't need to have a 100% crit rate. You can go with 70% crit rate. She's gonna deplete the Thermometer if you have accuracy, and she's gonna deal so much damage with this skill. This is an AoE skill, has a chance to run poison, and this is a Giant Slayer, a quadruple hitter with this skill. Is very powerful even for the Fire Knight as well. I used to run her quite for quite a while in my Fire Knight team, actually. So that's another rare champion that I would definitely suggest you guys to level up. Painkeeper is another one. Now, I'm using her on the secret rooms and in clan boss, okay? So she is a must for my Barrister team. And how many of you guys out there are using a Barrister comp? Probably around 70% of the end game, maybe more than that, are using a Barrister comp because it's just so straightforward. Full oro, every difficulty, every affinity. And she is a must in that team. What exactly makes her special? Decreases the cooldown of all ally skills by 1 turn on a 4-turn cooldown. Right here we have a heal, so that's why I'm using her for secret rooms. And just generally, she's a pretty dope champion. You can definitely use her in dungeons. You can use her in faction wars. Wherever you need her, she's definitely not gonna disappoint. Moving over to the next rare champion, guys. Frozen Banshee. Now, she was released with the very first battle pass. Great for clan boss, great for the dragon dungeon if you need her for progression. And honestly, if you need her anywhere else, she can definitely do the job. I have her built on a regeneration set and a resilience set. I think I have this build from when I made that spider team for my wife with Hegemon and Jingle Hunter and all the crazy champions, you know. I gave her a regen set just to keep her alive. But basically, she was the very first champion that had poison sensitivity in the game. That increases the damage taken from poisons, you know, on targets, which is pretty solid. She drops poisons with the A1, fills the thermometer of all allies with the A2, and she has a accuracy aura for all battles. Definitely a very solid champion, and she's definitely one of the strongest poisoners in the entire game. Of course, she's not at the Dracomorph level, but honestly, she's definitely in the top 10 as the best poisoner in the entire game, and she's a rare champion, you know. Moving over to the next rare champion, I don't have him built just yet. Doomscreech. This is another champion, guys, that I would suggest you with confidence. Yes, you can 6-star this champion and you're gonna find uses for him. Early game for progression, end game for secret rooms in the Doom Tower, you know. But it's definitely a champion that can help you out. I've seen this champion used even on Hydra clan boss. I've seen this champion used on Doom Tower bosses as well, on the very end game on hard mode. So definitely, you're not gonna be disappointed with Doomscreech. On the A1, he has decreased accuracy, Doom Tower bosses. Right here, we have a booster meter and increased defense on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown. And right here, we have a bit of a shield on this champion, but it's an AoE attack, you know. And we have a HP aura for faction creeps. Doomscreech, definitely a thumbs up from me. Moving over to the next one, this is Corpulent Cadaver. I'm not using him either, but I'm planning to build the Infinity Comp too. He's the hardest hitting champion for clan boss in the entire game with hits of over 1 million damage. It's just crazy what sort of damage he can do, guys. If we're talking about the champion, is he special anywhere else? Maybe you're gonna find some other uses for him, but he's really shining in clan boss on the Infinity Comp, you know. So if you are not anywhere close to build a team like that, probably you're not gonna need a champion, you know. But the whole idea is the damage is equal to 30% of the value of the shield. Honestly, I've seen some very crazy damage with this champion, and I would definitely suggest you to consider in building him or keeping a copy in the vault, just in case if one day you're gonna be able to build that comp. Moving over to the next one, guys, Bisell. This is a champion that I'm using in Doom Tower for secret rooms, but overall is definitely not a bad champion at all. Built on stun set, with the A1 attacks all enemies, great for my stun set. Block buffs debuff for 2 turns, even though it's a smaller chance. On the A2, heals all allies by 15% of their max HP on a 3-turn cooldown, and we have increased defense and increased attack on a 4-turn cooldown for all allies, and we have a speed aura for faction creeps. Definitely, this champion does a lot for a rare one, you know. I feel like it's definitely worth it to build one up. You're gonna find uses for this champion even in the end game without a problem. The next one is definitely one of my very favorites, Gelhert. I would suggest you to build this on a regeneration set or immortal set if you can. Seems like I'm missing the gear on him for some reason. Either I gave it to somebody or I can't remember what. But basically, he is amazing as a CC, as a crowd control champion. Places unkillable buff on this champion for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Places provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. And an increased defense on this champion. On a 3-turn cooldown, 100% chance to provoke the entire wave of enemies. For a rare champion is very, very good. Very powerful, actually. I love to use this champion in the Doom Tower for secret rooms. When we're talking about faction wars and all these guys, I have a very stacked account, so yeah, I'm probably not gonna use most of these champions anywhere else myself. But honestly, they're very good for progression. They're still the best rare champions in the game, and probably the only ones I would still suggest you to build. The only ones that I really, really trust, you know. Moving over to the next rare champion, my opinion, this is the most complete rare champion in the entire game. Balor, okay? I have him built on a stun set, a speed set, one of the best campaign farmers in the game, great for faction wars, that's where I'm running him, great for secret rooms as well, I'm pretty sure I'm using him somewhere there as well. Basically, on the A1, AoE attack, block active skills. On the A2, AoE attack, decrease speed. On the A3, AoE attack, decrease defense, and we have a speed aura for faction creeps. That's what makes him so amazing. AoE attacks everywhere. He doesn't do like insane damage, so if you want him as a farmer, maybe you want to build him at 200 speed just to overlap the enemies, so he's taking 2 turns to make sure he's gonna kill the wave before they're taking a turn. That will make it a bit faster for you, and it's gonna keep the champion alive, and you're not gonna need to have a lifesteal on him, you know. But honestly, Balor, very, very solid as a rare champion. It's been like this for a long time, and I don't think it's gonna change anytime soon. War Maiden. Yes, probably a lot of you guys are like, well, I can replace War Maiden pretty easy. It's just that defense down. True, but honestly, how I specified, these champions are still very powerful in the endgame for secret rooms and maybe other things. I'm still running her in my faction war team for defense down, right? Basically, the only thing that I need from her is have this skill right here. AoE defense down, 100% chance fully booked. It's a champion that you can farm from a campaign, guys, so you can slowly book her up. You don't even need to waste rare books. Places increased attack buff on the champion if the attack is critical, and attacks 1 enemy. And right here we have a small chance to land the poison. This can help you on the dragon for progression. This is definitely a progression champion, and how I specified, you're not gonna regret it if you 6-star her early on, because you're gonna use this champion in the end game. At least me, with this super stacked account, I'm still running War Maiden. I have a stun set on her. This is mainly for the secret rooms in the Doom Tower. Some of them are extremely hard, and you gotta CC the waves constantly, you know. The next one that I would suggest you guys is Soulband. Again, a very powerful champion, stun set for her as well. On the A1, AoE attack, and you only need 75% crit rate. Every single skill on her gives you an extra additional 25% crit rate, and if you want to use the aura, you can build her with less crit rate than that, 60 or 58% crit rate, let's just say. The A2 attacks 1 enemy. This will ignore 75% of the target's defense, and the A3 attacks 1 enemy and fully depletes the target's turn meter. Great for the spider dungeon, progression, CC, great for faction wars, great for Fire Knight as well if you don't have any turn meter manipulation. Overall, she's a very, very solid champion. 100% recommend. Apothecary. This is kind of like the legendary in disguise. My opinion, the most optimal build for him will be Relentless speed set if you can give him a pretty good stats. I would suggest you to try to give him as much crit rate as possible without sacrificing speed or any of the HP or defense, because what's very important on him, this heal can be critical. So that means he can actually fully heal your champion more than the 35% HP, but that needs to be a critical heal, you know. It's kind of like a strange one because we don't really have many champions that have a kit like that. Increased speed, increased turn meter on a 3-turn cooldown, Giant Slayer on the A1. He's such a beast of a champion, honestly. Apothecary has been one of the biggest OGs in the game. And we have another one right here, guys. Quarry Tender. She's an amazing reviver cleanser. Probably the only reviver cleanser I would suggest you to 6-star as a rare champion, you know. Right here revives an ally with 30% HP and fills the thermometer. Removes all debuffs from all allies, then places a continuous heal. And a small chance to land a decreased attack, which is not that important, honestly, because you want to focus on survivability. Maybe give her a bit of resistance, kind of like to carry you through dungeons and whatever else you're going to plan to use the champion. I have her built on 2 Immortal and a Resilience set, kind of like leftovers. And I'm running her on the Nether Spider in the Doom Tower sometimes, actually, because I don't have Raglan on this account. This is kind of like pretty much my list, guys. If we're talking about the starter champions, I have them all built up. They're all on stun sets for secret rooms. That's kind of like the place where I'm using them in the Doom Tower. That's why I'm saying you're not gonna miss on anything. You're definitely gonna use all these champions in the very end game, because there are a lot of secret rooms where you need magic rare champions, just rare champions, attack rare champions, etc. You know, so it can be pretty damn annoying if you don't have tons of rare champions on the side. And this is something that slowly, while you're building up your account, you can actually just work on the side, you know. But that was all for this video, guys. Let me know what do you think about all these rare champions. Maybe I missed a couple of them that are still very solid and they're gonna help you through a lot of progression. But how I specified, I haven't focused on fun champions or on champions that you can literally only use in secret rooms, because if they're only usable for secret rooms, they can be replaced by any other champions, you know, like rare champions. I feel like these are the key ones. Maybe I missed 1 or 2, but let me know in the comments down below. Appreciate all of you guys watching, and I'll catch you all soon in the next one. Peace.